All right, we are live. Hello, everyone. For those who don't know me, my name is Christina Marino-Well, and I'm so happy that you're here to celebrate with us today. So, whether you're a current or aspiring innovator or entrepreneur, you may know that if you are starting or building a business, it can be a bit of a hot mess. So, today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what the Figure Your Shit Out Accelerator is. And then you're going to get to actually hear from many of our founders to learn a little bit about what they've been working on and also what's next for them. So, a little bit about FYSO. When you're starting out, for many founders, it can be extremely lonely, overwhelming, and sometimes feel impossible when you're taking on, really big idea. You have to lead through uncertainty, and there's no one right strategy. You have to learn, to thrive as a founder. And if you're building a business by yourself, you can quickly sometimes lose sight of the forest from the trees. And that for me was definitely my experience with entrepreneurship since I first took the leap. So I have been working in social entrepreneurship for almost 8 years now. And my first experience with the term entrepreneurship was formed in a university setting. So I was getting my MBA and I took all of these entrepreneurial courses and innovative courses where we used design thinking. It was always very collaborative and fun and creative. And it also felt like low stakes and playful. And then I moved home to North Carolina and I got involved in organizing startup weekends, which are 54-hour events where you form teams around business ideas. So I both participated in them and then eventually started organizing them. And so my dream was to become an entrepreneur. And my idea of what that looked like was having this amazing community that was going to support me while I brought my ideas to life. And yet I found that the real world was quite different than that. When I ventured out on my own, I was at a transition point in my life and I was not sure exactly what kind of business I was building and really where I wanted to go. And so instead of seeming, going out there and networking and seeming like a flake, I decided to isolate myself while I figured my shit out. Now you're starting to see where we're going with this. Thankfully, over time, I eventually found mission-driven entrepreneurs like me and that I have been able to lean on. And I realized that I want to build a marketing and strategy consultancy. But in that process, I also realized I didn't want any other mission-driven entrepreneur or innovator to have to experience the kind of despair and, to be quite frank, the major struggles that I had because they don't have proper support. And so that's where FYSO comes from. So, I don't know if you've ever explored the entrepreneurial ecosystem, but in some ways it's broken. Most of the time, the support that exists is created to serve high growth companies, which is really important. I'm not against high growth. It's just not for everyone. And it is understandable that there's, expectations around ROI. But at the same time, I've also met many brilliant web designers, graphic designers, artists, Main Street businesses, mission-driven entrepreneurs that believe in making more than just a profit. And some of them aren't necessarily paid for what they do. I've also met friends that have spent years of their life building a product, like some kind of technology, just to find out that they built the wrong thing or that they missed a major factor from the market. And I just that the thought of that wasted talent just hurts my heart. And then I've also heard of stories where I've had friends be encouraged by investors to just quit their job when in all reality they don't quite have product market fit. And these are just the inherent struggles of entrepreneurship. But it doesn't have to be like that, right? The Figure Your Shit Out Accelerator is all about giving entrepreneurs a safe space to test their ideas, hone their business models, and figure their shit out in community. So over the last 6 months, we've had 22 mission-driven founders come together to define, first off, what success means to them. We are big believers at FYSO that you get to determine what success looks like. And then from there, they work towards building businesses that are as sustainable for them as founders as their business is for the type of impact that they're trying to create. The way the program's structured is we met for a 1-month boot camp, every Monday and Wednesday night for 2 hours. And we learned different tools and models and strategies for building the foundation of a successful business. We also heard from many inspiring mission-driven speakers that shared their own journey and talked about their hot mess struggles and gave us many of their aha moments and provided a lot of inspiration and valuable lessons that will hopefully save us all some time in our own journeys. Then for the next 5 months, these founders met every single week, either for group coaching or for a meeting with their learning circles, which was groups of peers at a similar phase in their businesses that they could lean on and brainstorm with and, hold each other accountable to sticking with the course. It's also worth mentioning that all of this happened during a pandemic. 2020, y'all. Whew. So over the last 6 months, there have been many pivots, aha moments, and breakthroughs. Some of them, as you'll hear, have ended up in a place they never expected. And all of them have a lot to be proud of. Like this was it's a big commitment to do this program. And so give them all a big shout out. They showed up, they did the work, they've developed tools and skill sets that will serve them no matter where they decide to go in their lives. And so I am so excited to introduce you to the 10 founders that you're going to meet and hear from tonight. They're going to share what they've been working on, their biggest takeaways. So if you're an aspiring founder, you can learn from them, and also share what's next and ways we might even be able to help them. Then afterwards, we're going to give you the opportunity to go back to the lounge and network on this fantastic platform. By the way, this is the first time we're using this, so if you have tech issues, thanks for your patience. Fingers crossed. So far, so good. And before moving into our next session, I want to make sure I say this in case you or anyone you know of might be interested in our program. We'll be kicking off our next cohort at the end of January 2021. So if you have any questions, you can come find me or my team member, Kaylee Poff, at the networking session, or you can go check out the FYSO website, www.FYSOaccelerator.com. By the way, it's pay what you can. So we've truly made this program accessible. It's very, very important to us that anybody that needs the support can get it. So with that, thank you again for joining us. I'm now going to end this session, bring all of our founders backstage, and then we will get started. So thanks again. All right, we are back. Nora, do you want to kick us off?
Absolutely. So everyone can hear me? Excellent. Sorry, I kind of have to whisper because it is very late here. So I am Nora. I'm the founder and CEO of Animal Experience International. I have a travel company in a pandemic, so I clearly needed to figure my shit out. I have been the CEO for about 9 years now, and one of the things that I didn't realize was I'm actually good at business. I thought that I was good at AEI, and so FYSO was so important to me because not that every time we had like a small group or we learned about things, I looked around and said, "Oh, I know all that." I said, "Oh, that makes sense. And this lesson makes sense to me and I understand it." And sometimes we're already doing it. And other times I went, that makes sense and we should do that. And so that was so helpful in the last 6 months to really streamline my ideas about running AEI when I can again and what that looks like. And to not be so intimidated by being an expert and saying that I'm an expert. I have been doing this for 9 years, and for so long I would say I'm an expert, and then I went, oh, wait a minute, I actually am, because who else thinks about travel and volunteering in animals as much as I do, someone that has a company that's called Animal Experience International. So right now, we are not sending any travelers anywhere because of the pandemic, but I have been speaking to lots of universities. On the other side of the pandemic, I have started calling myself an expert and started believing that I'm an expert, and all of a sudden universities have been asking me to talk to them about ethical travel and not just with animals, but ethics in general in the travel industry. I think that 2020 has been such an interesting and amazing positive year because all of a sudden everyone's scales have fallen off their eyes and they said, oh, we should think about ethics in our world, in travel, with everything. And so it's been really great because things that I've been ruminating on and all the pillars that AEI was built on, suddenly I'm able to tell people about and say, hey, we could talk about racism in travel, talk about animals, etc. So that has been really cool. And it does mean in the future when we can travel again, we can also say, hey, it's not just a travel company. It's also this company that has these really big ideas and has been able to really talk to university and college and lots of other students about what those ideas are, and fairly legitimately. So yeah, that is AEI and my journey through FYSO. So thank you so much, Christina, and everyone who's part of FYSO, because without you, I wouldn't know what I know, which is apparently a little bit. So on to you, Jill.
Thank you. That was great. Thanks for sharing that, Nora. Can I ask you, where you said, are you?
I'm in Birmingham in the West Midlands.
Okay. All right. Just couldn't remember where you had relocated. I know you also had to wait to be able to travel. So, hello, everyone. My name's Jill Newbold, and I am co-founder of a company called Lopo Dive Skins. In the summer of 2018, my younger sister and I were sitting on her dock in Minnesota having a beer, and we were bemoaning our jobs and wishing that we could control our own destinies. And we just started brainstorming. She is a big scuba diver, has done over 1,000 dives, spent her extra time and treasure on scuba diving for the last 15 years. I had been working in impact investing for almost 9 years at an organization called Investor Circle. And together we came up with this concept of coming up with a dive skin, which I will tell you what it is, that is made out of recycled plastic. So I worked with startups a lot, and we talked about how that particular audience, in seeing plastic in the ocean while they were doing their ocean sport, were disgusted. And by helping them while they were actually doing this sport that they love, if they could be supporting cleaning the ocean, it would be a double win. So we actually, the words come from the French L'(EAU) for low, and then PEAU is skin. So Lopo is French, but we have the URLs for both the French spelling and just LOPO for Americans. So where are we now? Oh, how did I find out about FYSO? I found about FYSO through Christina being on a coffee for nonprofit leaders in the Triangle. Generally, I missed these because I was traveling, but I was able to get on a call last spring, and this really bubbly blonde was talking about how she was starting an accelerator for entrepreneurs who cared about impact, about the environment or a social issue, and she called it FYSO. And when she said it was figure your shit out, I'm like, oh my God, I love her. So I applied and I was accepted, and have had a great experience. And so I'm going to tell you all, first of all, what is a dive skin? This is a real one. It just looks like a big full body cat suit. This one has holes in it. The zipper pull is gone. And we decided that we wanted to make a high-end one because a lot of people who do the sport will go diving 6 to 10 times a year. So they have a lot of money and are not terribly price sensitive. The piece of the market that we're going for would be the high-end market. So we found a product here in North Carolina out of a company called Unify, and they have a yarn called Reprieve that is made with 70% curbside recycled plastic bottles, but 30% ocean-bound plastic that then is transmitted to the United States. It's shipped here from, it seems like mostly Haiti, from that area, and crushed and turned into fiber. They are also potentially coming out with a fiber in January that's 100% ocean-bound plastic. And it's going to be expensive, but that would still be a good product for us. We chose the weight of the fabric that we want to use. We've hired a designer, and we thought we had the fiber manufacturing company chosen, but then found out just 2 months ago that they're not going to take that product to market with Reprieve until the middle of next year. So it was still is a lot of 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, but that's okay. So we found another rep who's helping us find a sample of what we want. And then we'll go back to Unify and ask them about whether the 100% is available and which factories might be able to work with us to make it. We also, through networking, found out about on-demand manufacturing, which will save us a lot of time and money, I think. Rosalinda will know more about this than I do, but this way we will only make a product when it's ordered, which fits with our environmental story really well, because the fashion industry is known for not being very sustainable and having a lot of waste. So anyone who orders a LoPo dive skin or rash guard will know that that one has been made for them, and that we're not making excess inventory. Christina also connected us with a consulting class of graduate students at American University, and they were really helpful. Presented to us last week some great ideas about secondary markets like paddleboarding and surfing, and also some interesting insights on color that we're taking into consideration. We have a sample. My sister has it with her. It's her turn to try it on. We have one of those 0% credit cards for the business. We've realized that everything takes longer than we thought. We were hoping to go to the industry organization trade show in November in New Orleans, which was, of course, canceled, and we won't have product until well into the spring or summer. I got scuba certified, and we will, with one of these on-demand manufacturers, we'll probably test a couple of them to try and see if we like their quality. And then we're going to give the product to 3 to 5 influencers and get their feedback on it. So this is what they look like. This is the full body one. And these are what the dive skin or just the rash guards look like. So we're definitely going to go with this green color, but we were trying to do something that women in particular would feel good sitting on the deck of a boat after they've been on a dive, and you can pull down your wetsuit and still feel covered and that you look good. So I'm going a little long, I apologize, but my key takeaways are that Christina will ask anyone on our behalves to give us advice. She had some really great people that she didn't even know that she got to speak with us during boot camp, and that was super helpful. The small groups, many of whom are on this call today, our learning circle was really helpful. It was nice to have someone to be accountable to. I feel more confident that I know things are going to go wrong, and that's just fine. That it's okay to ship our product. This is not what it will look like, 5 months after we've sold some. So I knew that intellectually, but being in FYSO has really made me more comfortable with that. And I want to be an entrepreneur, and I wasn't sure I did. So it was super helpful to realize that I'd really like to be in charge of my own destiny at this point in my career life, and I'm going to go for it. So thank you very much, Christina, and everybody else. And I am going to
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Danae Edmonds. I'm super excited to be a FYSO member. This program has helped me think more strategically about not just my business, but my life overall. I was definitely the kind of purpose-driven entrepreneur with no real exit strategy or stability for my future. I would say that clarity is one of the biggest takeaways that I've gotten from both FYSO. I used to introduce myself as a content creator and graphic designer, and while at its core that is still correct, I'm actually a graphic designer who builds brands for passionate people. I am also the founder of Aspiring Co., a media company that is for women and that aims to inspire women to take risks in their careers and lives. So Aspiring Co. is always looking for amazing, badass women to feature. So if you have someone who immediately comes to mind, I would love for you to share their information with me. So please head over to aspiringco.com/nominate and tell me all about them. So furthermore, with Aspiring Co., we're working on a coffee table book, which is going to launch officially on 9/22/2021. It's currently available for pre-order. The book is called Almost Finished, a book of inspiring interviews with women who are boldly living their dreams, and it'll have nearly 100 interviews. I'm really excited to get this into everyone's hands. And then for my design work, I am currently not taking on new clients until February 2021. FYSO helped me realize that I need to do a better job of like preparing for my future and not just like living in the moment, which is the way that I have always kind of live my entrepreneurship life. I will tell people in a heartbeat that I'm always flying by the seat of my pants. So FYSO helped me realize I don't need to do that all the time. So I'm currently wanting to work a full-time job while I continue to build my brands. And that doesn't make me any less of an entrepreneur. I value the security of like stability that often comes with a full-time position. And I'm looking for my next role and hoping to be in that position for at least the next 5 years. Some of the roles that I have been interested in are customer success or like account management positions at software companies or startups. And ideally, I want something that's going to be impact focused because if I'm not engaged in that way, it's just not going to work out for me long term. So what I like most about those roles is the opportunity to build relationships with my customers. So all of that said, I'm really grateful for FYSO and Christina and Kaylee and for the gift of clarity and friendship and community, and for my family and friends who have supported me in my vision. And then lastly, on behalf of my dog Ziggy, I want to thank his new aunties, Nora and Molly, because he would not allow us to have any of our meetings without being seen and like a huge part of this experience. Okay, speaking of Molly,
Yes.
over to her.
Oh, and I'm just chiming in. So for everyone who's spoken, feel free to put your information in the live chat. And to those who are having tech issues, sorry, y'all. All right, back to Molly for
Great. Thank you, Danae, and thank you for the Ziggy shout out. I appreciate that. My name is Molly Keene, and I'm the co-founder of a program called Cojourn. And we were a personal growth and goal achievement program is how we were describing ourselves, but we created a program that gives a structure for support and a connection to make meaningful movement in life. It's kind of a souped up accountability partnership based in research-backed strategies and really highlighting the importance of connection for well-being, which since COVID-19 hit has become more and more sort of in the spotlight and important. And I joined FYSO. I attended a webinar that Christina led, and I just was really so impressed by her brilliance and her zest and her kindness and accessibility. I have a background in education and counseling and no awareness of anything to do with business and a lot of stereotypes. And so I was really drawn to learning from this amazing woman and that was focusing for mission-driven entrepreneurs. My background is education. It's also social justice education. And I had just released a book about Cojourn in September 2019, and we had participants in over 40 countries and 40 states, yet we had no product and no way to monetize the program. And I had really seen the transformational impact of Cojourn on my life and on the lives of those who used it. And I really wanted to center it in my life and in my work and figure out a way to make it be part of my, or all of my paid employment. And so I was so grateful for the FYSO experience because one of my big takeaways was just sort of like more comprehensive understanding of some of the key parts of being an entrepreneur. Like I didn't know what SEO meant, and now I do. Some of those things that I think for people in business or entrepreneurship are really basic building blocks, I had no idea. And so to get a chance to learn that and have the materials to come back to as I need them and to learn, I feel so grateful for all of that. And I also it helped me strategize where I teach at multiple colleges and have, a lot of other jobs going on. So how to best strategize my time and energy while building Cojourn. I loved learning about the power of word of mouth in marketing and really focusing on that more than having to worry as much about some of the other things that I just don't have time yet to really do. And the power of experimentation. I think Christina really emphasized that, and it made everything feel a lot lower stakes. So it's let's just try this and see what happens. And then if it's a disaster, well, let's try something different, and just it really freed me up because as someone who's kind of prone to anxiety and getting it right and getting it perfect and learning that it's not about that. And so in terms of what's next or what's been happening since starting FYSO, we released, I have a copy in my lap, our Cojourn guidebook, a workbook and guidebook that goes with our book, which makes it way more accessible to institutions. And we started working with students, but really tailoring faculty and staff at universities. And we are working with the University of Massachusetts this fall, and they were shocked that 840 faculty and staff signed up very quickly, that people are really hungry. They said it was more than any other programs that they've offered because people are so hungry for the connection and support right now. So we're honing in on our pricing model for institutions for Cojourn and figuring that out and, sending it out to a number of other colleges, thinking about the spring semester and sort of the immediate COVID winter for our 12-week program. We released in June a Cojourn for Racial Justice model, working with a bunch of social justice educators from sort of my field and background. One of them in the audience, Angelica Castro, is co-leading it with me right now for all educators at a local school who are doing a weekly check-in around their anti-racism goals. So that's been a unique and exciting application of Cojourn that we're continuing to explore. And then we've been doing for individuals these 12-week cohort-based programs for individuals. We're running one this fall that's been going really well, and we're planning to launch another starting January 17th. And so kind of looking at the multiple tiers of Cojourn. So I'm really excited about continuing to work on this. I think for support, if anybody is connected to any institutions that you think might be interested in the lower cost by high impact way to support employees right now, and any promoting of our 12-week event through social media. We have a Instagram page, Cojourn International, and then our Facebook page is just Cojourn. So thank you, Christina. Thank you to FlyCo, my small group, and thank you to you all for being here tonight.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kelly, and my business is Light Creative LLC, which is a photography business. I am newly saying that I'm a baby and family photographer because during FYSO, I've decided to niche down to specialize in that rather than doing a little bit of everything like I have been, or at least communicating that I do a little bit of everything. So I am in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I am a photographer focused on giving families laid-back experiences and providing photo art for your home, like wall art and prints, so that you have something tangible to enjoy your memories in a really easy, seamless way. My background is actually in education, so I used to teach Spanish and ESL at various times, and I always did photography on the side, but I made the switch to do photography full-time about 2.5 years ago, knowing that I didn't have time for both, and it just personally, it wasn't working doing both as far as my mental energy. And I realized that photography is what really sets my heart on fire more than teaching did. So I'm excited to be in this world now, and I'm still kind of figuring out the ins and outs of being in business for myself and all of the good things that come with that and all of the challenges of being a solo entrepreneur doing all of the things. So I kind of was in a place at the beginning of the year where I knew that I needed to improve some marketing skills and figure out how to really convey the value that I'm offering to people. And I knew Christina personally, and so finding out that she was doing this FYSO cohort felt like a perfect fit. I also, tying in the mission-driven aspect, I am passionate about providing photography for everybody, not just for people who can typically afford it. So currently I have a pay-what-you-can system where people can pay a suggested price, pay a little bit more to provide for others who wouldn't usually have access to that, or pay a little bit less, and that is kind of covered by the pay-it-forward contributions that other people have made. And during the program, I've gotten some ideas of ways to tweak that a little bit and make it sustainable and kind of even reach more people by changing it up a bit. So I am excited to put some more thought into that. Overall, the year has been good. I do feel like I've been in kind of like survival mode this year. I have a 1-year-old, so working daily has been mostly during his nap times and after he goes to bed. And you know, pandemic, all of the things. So it's been quite the year, but I always thought that FYSO was kind of a good grounding place for me with all of the craziness and like go, trying to get stuff done while my son is napping. It was kind of a place like, oh yeah, I have FYSO tonight, and just a good place to check in with people. A really good reminder that you don't have to go it alone all of the time. You know, community is important, and I've been so thankful for my learning circle for check-ins business-wise, but also personally. We've been holding each other accountable to things like get up a little bit early and meditate for 5 minutes. Or, you know, cross off this big business to do that we just have to get done, but is difficult. So it's been really, really good for that. And finally deciding to go ahead and niche down to something really specific in the photography world so that I can reach those target clients better was big for me. And I'm excited to kind of dig into that more and continue talking more specifically to those people as I'm, you know, marketing and on social media and things. I have the book Building a Story Brand. And so I did that before FYSO, and FYSO I feel like just expanded all of the ideas that I started getting through that book. And now I have all of this big library of resources in this community that I can kind of like chat with, and even after the program, bounce ideas off of. And I felt like a really good expansion over that foundation that I was like starting to build at the beginning of the year. And so from here, I'm just trying to continue to improve my marketing skills and talking to that target client, only showing exactly what I want to photograph on my website, which right now has a little bit of everything on there. So I'm going to put it in the chat, but just know it's going to be changing a little bit. And yeah, I'm putting some thought into how to add more value to my client experience and making sure pricing is in a good place that's sustainable for my business and my personal life. And yeah, kind of putting some thought into that pay-what-you-can model and how to continue to serve the community well in different ways. So I'm excited to dig into more of the resources that I haven't really been able to take advantage of this year, but that were presented to us through FYSO. And I'm excited to stay in touch with everybody. So if you do want to support my business, I will put some links over to the side. Of course, if you're local, I would love to do a photo session with you, especially if you have little ones or are expecting. And if you know anybody, please send them my way. I will also put a link over there for gift certificates. I truly believe that photo sessions make the best Christmas gifts or holiday gifts because photos last a lifetime and they actually grow in value over time rather than other gifts that you could give, because you'll always treasure those pictures of yourself and your family. So I'll put a link over for that. Feel free to grab a gift certificate for yourself or to give as a gift. And of course, follow along on social media. I am Light Creative Art on Instagram and just Light Creative LLC on Facebook. And let me know if you have any questions. Thank you so much, Christina, and thanks everybody. I think Kiera is next.
Thank you, Kelly. That was amazing. I'm going to just piggyback off of your confidence. I thought that was great. But my name is Kiera Murphy, and I'm an independent sustainability and B Corp certification consultant. And I'm based out of California, currently based out of Palm Springs. And FYSO has been a very unexpected journey for me from when I I first started the program and kind of anticipated where it was going to take me. Starting my own business has been a crazy thing to do in 2020. For the past decade or so, I've lived mostly abroad and really built my professional network in Australia. And that's where I was first introduced to the B Corp movement. And I was in a role at a very large certified B Corp brewery that everyone kind of aspired to have that role and thought it was so cool. And so when it was time for me to leave and move back to California, I was hopeful about the opportunities that would come. I was pushed in the direction to do independent consulting and take what I learned and my expertise from growing the B Corp movement in Australia and New Zealand to here in the US. And it was hard. It was really hard to connect to the community, to be trusted, for my reputation to be validated. And then the pandemic hit, and I specialized in supporting craft businesses through their sustainability journeys. And the industry was heavily impacted by the pandemic. And I found that throughout my FYSO experience, I was constantly feeling that sense of like, I could definitely do this, and I could do it well. And I was. Over the past year, I've served over 25 clients. I'm going to have about 5 certified B Corps under my belt within the next couple of months. And I'm bringing on a lot more clients. So success definitely came, but I found throughout the experience, I was seeing a lot of triggers in a way where I was pointed in the direction of like, I can do this, but I don't want to. One of the reasons being that I didn't like selling this type of work to other people. And I felt a sense of guilt around offering pro bono services. And I hated that a contract or an invoice was going to get in the way of me being able to support businesses to be a force for good and to really relearn how to build their business to benefit all their stakeholders, their workers, the environment, the community, especially this year. And I was finding that the toughest conversations that I was having with potential clients or current clients were women, were Black people, Indigenous people, people of color, people from other historically excluded groups. And I hated it. I hated having those conversations and experiencing those barriers. And so I have decided to continue my business, continue to grow the B Corp movement, but more on a pro bono basis and explore full-time job opportunities. Hopefully at a certified B Corp, fingers crossed, but I loved that in my role in Australia. I was able to do my job and do my job really well and help people along the way on the side. Now that I'm back in the US, I get to monetize that. So that's good. I wasn't able to monetize that because of immigration in Australia. So super unexpected journey for me. I didn't think I'd be here saying that to all of you today, but I feel such a weight lifted off my shoulders. And it's been such a gift to have this community because in making that decision, I didn't see it as a failure. And so I'm incredibly thankful. And in moving forward, just for all of you along your entrepreneurial journeys, if you ever have any questions about B Corp, always feel free to come my way. And I hope some of you become B Corps one day. But as well, just wish me luck on me finding a job in 2021. I'm just really excited about, this new sense of direction. And all up, I've really appreciated having this community to connect with as I'm coming back to the US. It's a bit of a scary thing. So I really appreciate you all being people that I can trust and count on. And with that, I will pass it on to Molly.
Hello. Wow, Kiera, that was really great to hear all about your journey, and definitely agree with you on how wonderful it's been to have this community in a very challenging year, a year where there's a lot of changes going on. But I'm Molly Drake. I am the founder and creative director of Parson Lane, which is a graphic design studio based in Carborough, North Carolina. I specialize in brand identity and web design. I am a solopreneur. I don't really have any plans to hire on a team or expand. I really love being a solopreneur. I love doing the work of design and building relationships with clients one-on-one. It's super meaningful to me. And that was definitely a challenge when I first started out in my business was, as Christina mentioned earlier, a lot of resources for entrepreneurs are really geared towards businesses that want to grow. And I was not necessarily one. And FYSO was a real blessing to find a space where I could learn how to run my business in a way that felt really authentic to me. I started working with graphic design clients on a freelance basis just in my spare time back in 2016. And I was at that time working in the wedding and events industry. I don't have an educational background in design. I kind of came across it the roundabout way. But once I started doing design work, just really fell in love with it and knew that that was what I wanted to do with my life. So I decided to go full-time freelance in May of 2019. I quit my job and it was a really big, scary stepping off point. And after that, I began really developing Parson Lane as its own brand versus just, hi, I'm Molly, I'm a freelancer. When I first quit my job, I honestly set the bar really low for myself. At that point, I was saying like, well, if I make it 6 months, I will count that as a success and then I can just go get a job and it'll be fine. I'm going to try this, but we'll see. And then I got a few months in and was still going strong and booking clients, and it was starting to look like I could maybe keep doing this. So I kind of had the realization of like, oh, now I have to set actual business goals for myself and make some plans and keep planning to do this. I knew Christina already. I'd actually been her wedding planner in my last job. And I'd been to some of her FYSO events, which were awesome. Really great group of people she's been able to build around this brand. And when I found out that this cohort would be all virtual, it just seemed like a really accessible option and great timing. So yeah, dove into FYSO. And at first my goals for the program were to understand my brand positioning a little bit better, to figure out how to receive more qualified leads coming in and more of a steady stream and not be so dependent on referrals, and to reach an income level that felt stable and like it would, set me up for continuing to do this well into the future. Really, I just wanted to get some clarity around my marketing and how to think of myself and my brand and who I was speaking to. And I'd say the biggest thing I learned in FYSO is that there's really no one right way to run a business. I'm a very organized kind of type A person. And when I first started my business, I spent so much time just scouring the internet, looking for like, what's the right way to do this? What's the best way to do this? Well, if I'm going to do this, I better do it right. And it really made me put off making a lot of business decisions or trying things or, diving in the way that you kind of have to when you're an entrepreneur. And FYSO, this community and everything that we learned really taught me, or I should say, gave me permission to just do things, to try new strategies, to try new things, and see what works and what doesn't. And, it's okay if you try something and it doesn't work out and it's not a good fit for you. You can try something else and change tack. That was really big for me. I think I had held off for a long time on committing myself to any certain brand positioning or really any marketing strategy at all, because I was afraid that I'd commit to something and then I'd end up, it wouldn't really be what I wanted to do, or it wouldn't really be the kind of clients that I was trying to connect with. And yeah, after doing FYSO, I kind of feel like, well, that's okay. I can try something and then later on see what else I want to do if I want to change it. So for next steps for me, I'm planning on basically just continuing to develop my marketing strategy and think a little bit harder about, like Kelly mentioned, niching down into something a little more specific than just graphic design studio. I really love doing brand identity design work. I love working with other entrepreneurs and small business owners. And specifically, it's been just incredibly fulfilling and really meaningful to me, working with all the women and minority-owned small businesses that I've had the opportunity to work with since I've started this kind of journey. It's really cool to be able to help people realize their dreams and make their businesses a reality, especially when it's people who have traditionally been excluded from a lot of the entrepreneurial resources that are kind of the more traditional path. I will actually be doing a really big website overhaul of my stuff, kind of, like I said, honing in on that brand positioning that I do brand identity design work, and I really specialize in that, and I love it. My website is parsonlane.com, and you can also check out my Instagram at parsonlane. Like Kelly said, check out my website now, but it'll change soon, and hopefully I'll be posting all about that online. But yeah, if any of you, or if you know anybody who is interested in getting some design help, or even just talking through the design process and brand identity design, what it is, what it looks like, I would love to hear from y'all. So with that, I will move or pass the mic on to Kristen.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Kristen, and my business is Array, a creative studio offering photography, design, and styling for luxe brands and lady entrepreneurs. Having previously owned my own jewelry line, I really love working with fellow makers and small shops. And over the last couple years, I've had the pleasure of working with a variety of brands, from handmade soaps to interior design. While it sometimes feels like my clients span a wide gap, I've really realized that what unites them is the desire to create a more beautiful life for others. And so it's kind of my hope too, that I am helping create a better business and life for them through our work together. When I joined FYSO, I was about a year into doing this thing on my own, and my main goals were to get organized in establishing an action plan for thriving rather than surviving entrepreneurship, figure out a way to create a bit of passive income through courses or webinars while educating my clients, and creating a business that allowed me to work with the small brands I'm passionate about in a way that doesn't break their bank or mine. So throughout the FYSO boot camp, I was go, ready to get all my shit figured out. But I realized it's not a sprint, and I honestly feel like I still have a lot of work to do, even though it's technically graduation today. So I'm grateful for the lessons I've learned from Christina and FYSO speakers, and for the encouragement from my fellow baby Yodas, and that our content and community will live on online, because there are definitely a couple of those videos I need to circle back to. As for my accomplishments during FYSO, I'm really, really proud that over the summer I was able to raise $1,000 for Black Lives Matter organizations in our local community. And I can thank the meat and potatoes method for that one, because it allowed me the time and ability to offer reduced photo shoots for my clients in exchange for them making a direct contribution to the organization of their choice. And I've also increased my prices since the start of FYSO, and I'm going into the new year with plans to raise them again. So thanks, FYSO, for that encouragement and that confidence. And I've begun work on a new website for my business that will allow me to easily offer courses in the future to help educate other small shops that are getting started. Through the ups and downs of 2020, I've been happy to have a community that gets it, and I'm looking forward to putting all of this FYSO knowledge to work in the year ahead. So moving forward, I always love connecting with like-minded folks. You can find me most active on Instagram at studio.array. My website is studioarray.com, and if you or anyone you know needs brand photography or design, I would love to chat. So thank you, Christina and Kaylee, and for everybody for staying on top of me, and congrats to everyone else. I will pass this over to Rosalinda.
Yay. Thank you. I am a little bit nervous. I don't really get nervous, but I feel like I've got like a big audience there. I'm actually looking forward to joining the big breakout room because my friend Whitney brought her dog Petunia, who apparently is wearing a pink, purple poodle skirt. Yeah, she's with me. But in any case, my name is Rosalinda Cruz, and I am a retail strategist and creative advisor. I'm also the founder of the ASOR Collective, and I help purpose-driven small business owners in domestic apparel with advising and coaching, workshops and training, and all that fun stuff. I don't really want to talk too much about myself, but I feel like it's important also to give like a little bit of background. But I have been kind of in the apparel industry since I was 15 years old. I worked at several boutiques over the years, and I actually found myself working for Eileen Fisher, where I spent 17 years, and I led their domestic and international in-store merchandising. I moved to North Carolina in 2017, and when I moved to North Carolina, I actually did not want to have anything to do with fashion or big corporations, but every turn of the way, I feel like I kept on getting pulled into it. So since I've been here, I've been able to deepen my connection with the supply chain and domestic manufacturing. But one of the problems that I had sort of in making that leap from corporate life into entrepreneurship is that I was stuck in that learning curve. I honestly didn't know what it meant to be a solopreneur or to like get things done without working with a team of 25 people or being able to pick up the phone and call somebody if I had questions. So one of the things that I really appreciate about FYSO is the support in the community that it provided. One of the things that I realized too, I'm going to kind of skip over some of the details here, but one of the things that I realized is that I was actually surrounding myself with like way too many MBAers, so I like to call them, and I was kind of tired of like being looked at like I had six heads every time I talked to somebody about what it was that I wanted to do and what I was actually doing. So I actually met Christina through a B Corp Lunch and Learn. And she was actually hosting that and talking about her work with the art vendors. And I fell in love. I fell in love. And shortly after that, I actually got a notification about FYSO, and I think I was actually probably one of the first people to sign up. And Christina's nodding her nodding her head there. But in any case, one of the things that I did actually in preparation for tonight is I actually went back to my workbook. And it's interesting because I actually, the first entry, my like day one goal was to flesh out the concepts of both of my businesses because I actually had two businesses that I was working on. Shortly after starting FYSO, I realized that I needed to kind of pick a lane. And while I haven't given up on my other business, I decided that I was going to dedicate more time to the ASOR Collective. So I wanted to bring structure and decide what my path forward was gonna be. And I think in the 6 months that I've been here, I've been able to do a lot of that. I feel like I kind of smashed a lot of those goals. What is next for me? So. Like I said, I really needed a lot of structure coming in here. I thought about what 2021 is going to look like, and I kind of broke it down into 4 areas. One, support, 2, marketing, 3, sales, and then also building the foundation. I think that a lot of people talked about wanting to build that foundation. And while I was able to do a lot of that, I think that if I was able to go back and watch some of those videos, I would be able to absorb a lot more information. So I'm actually looking forward to diving into that workbook and doing sort of what Kristen was talking about, and going back and watching some of those videos, because I do think that I still have a lot to learn. I think there's anything else that I wanted to add in there. I don't know if Dax is coming on.
Yes. Okay. So last but not least, we have Dax, and we finally had our first technical issue. We knew it was going to happen. A fun fact, there's a 10 speaker limit on AirMeet, which should have been fine, but it counts me as a host, a speaker anyways. So we're going to end this session, and then Dax is going to join me backstage, and then we're going to have Dax share his experience. So thank you to everyone. I'll thank you again in a minute, but I'm going to end this session. I'm going to bring Dax back, and then we will truly wrap up. Okay, we're back again. Fun fact, Dax is our only guy here tonight. We did have other guys that participated. We're very big on inclusion. Everyone's welcome. But Dax, I'll let you take it.
All right, thank you. Well, first I think that you guys pulled my LinkedIn headshot from circa 2012. Looked like a young Dax Dixon over there. And I appreciated hearing everybody, unless they were in my particular group, the Baby Yodas, I didn't get insight to how people have progressed as much as I did the Baby Yodas. I know that all of us, when we started out, had goals in mind, and it was, even when we did get busy and overwhelmed with our day jobs, I think that it was impressive, like how people just progressed and kind of tackled small issues, and one small issue after a small issue, you look back and how far you've come. So I appreciated hearing everybody else's story and where they came, or where they're at now, I should say. For me, I have worked my entire working career, I should say, in financial services, specifically targeted at high net worth clients. But juxtaposed against the way I grew up with a single mother who worked 2 or 3 jobs to try to put us through school. And so there's this gap in the marketplace in financial services to get good sound advice to certain people. And I feel like personal finance is extremely overwhelming for people. So, those 2 things in mind, and specifically my mom's in the healthcare industry. And so with those 2 things in mind, I had a pretty good idea, I think, to develop an application to help people who may not be, steeped and financially savvy, to manage their daily budget and save for the future, as well as spend in a very intentional way. And it's an area of the marketplace that wasn't or is still not explored that well. And so I've always been more of an idea person, and I sometimes not the best execution and follow up. And so I think part of figuring your shit out is that piece. And that's why I joined FYSO, is to be, have a regular schedule of sitting down and figuring out where I need to go, and as well as some of the tactics that needed to be undertaken to execute the business idea. And so since joining FYSO, I've actually been able to connect with some people who know some people who spoke earlier tonight, who work in the medical industry, and I was able to interview them to see how, number one, how they interface with their money currently. Number 2, how they budget, how they want to budget, all these different things, to have a deeper dive into what my potential customer segment would look like when we actually started to, if and when we roll out a product. The other piece is I figured out if I could do that currently in my, where I work now, or if I need to launch outside of my current job. And then I also figured out what my minimal viable product would be, which is the most cost effective way to see, to test that idea within the marketplace. And so it was very valuable for me to walk through those steps and put some structure around the idea. So then that next phase, which hopefully is a pre-launch phase sometime next year, I have those things already in place and already have a backfill of customer interviews to sort of validate that idea before going live. So I don't know who I should transition to, Christina, or if I don't think there's anybody after me, right?
Yeah, it's just me. Well, thank you, Dax. A big thank you again to all of our founders. You are freaking amazing. Also, a big shout out to all of your supporters that came today. I can't wait to meet you all. So, just to recap some of the things we heard everything from experimentation, the fact that everything you do doesn't have to be perfect. Whew, y'all, I've struggled with that because there's also theory and there's reality, right? It's easy to be like, oh, fail forward. But then when you're failing, you're like, oh, wait, this is not so fun. Some of us needed structure. Some wanted confidence around what are business tools that they could use to get strategic. There was a lot of niching down, which is painful sometimes, but also really powerful. Figuring out how to monetize your products while staying true to your mission. The idea that you can be an entrepreneur and have a full-time job. Yes, you can. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise, right? And making space to embrace what's going to make you happy. Like a shout out again to Kiera and all of you, like for owning who you are. And then last but not least, like the power of community, which I love you all. Like you make my life better. So to wrap up the programming, so we're done with the live programming. The next 30 minutes, we're going to be in that kind of like open networking area. You can join different tables and meet the different founders. There's also this cool thing at the top that's like speed networking. You get kind of like matched up for 2 minutes and then you fade out. So you might want to try that out. And then with that, hopefully I will see some of you in January for the next round. If you have any questions, again, you know where to find me. I'll be in the lounge. And just thank you again and have a good night. Bye, y'all.